Sunday night is here with us once again. Scorecard is back on Citi TV. It's been a very interesting weekend of sports. Locally, it's Dreams FC and Mediama Sporting Club competing in the CAF tournament. And then when you get to the foreign front in the PL, Liverpool Football Club bounced back from that draw with Chelsea. Chelsea Football Club, however, could not bounce back from that draw in the opening week of the league. They succumbed to a 3-1 defeat to West Ham Football Club. West Ham, who picked up a red card. Manchester United also were humbled by Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Newcastle played out a really hard-fought defeat with Manchester City. And then when you get to the Bundesliga, Hurricane is up and running. Real Madrid have Jude Bellingham doing wonderful things out there. So there's a lot to talk about on the show today. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll get the conversation going. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Coach Christopher Nimley, Jamie Ty in the studio. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Charlie.
Let's begin quickly with some local action. Mediama Sporting Club, they are in the CAF Champions League. They are taking on the second place team from last season's Nigerian league, Remo Stars. They won that game by a goal to nil. Yao as well. Let's also get to Dreams FC 1-1 with Milo. Coach, let me start off with you. What's going on? I mean, Mediama winning, strong performance from them. What have you made of that particular one? 1-0 win.
Okay. Truth be told, I have not seen the footages of the game, but I listened to the head coach after the game, and although they won, he wasn't happy.
I think I'll take Yao's thoughts. We're having some audio issues, so okay. Yes, let me take Yao's thoughts.
Yeah, I think you would always want a big win margin, especially in these knockout competitions. But at the end of the day, a win is a win. That's the most important thing. Knowing very well that they haven't been able to play a lot of competitive games, and you getting this win out of the way, it's a good start. It's a positive start. And knowing very well that they weren't playing in front of their home fans, and they had to relocate because their stadium is still under construction. And so for me, yeah, it's a win, but would I have wanted or would I have wished they had another goal or two? Yes, I definitely would have, knowing very well that it's tricky in these kind of competitions, and it's very tricky, particularly in Africa, when you have to travel away for the second leg. You always want a comfortable home win. And yes, Mediama, kudos, then they won the game, but yeah, it makes it a bit tougher in the return leg. And yeah, if they can really dig it in and get a draw, yeah, I think that's the most realistic result I see to enable them qualify to the next stage. Getting a draw away from home, I think it will be fine for them, and I think it's well within their reach to be able to do so.
Well, I mean, this 1-1 result obviously means that they are taking that advantage all the way. There will experience be a problem because in the CAF Confed Cup they've competed before. The CAF Champions League is a whole new arena to them as far as the competition is concerned. Yeah,
it is a different competition altogether. Knowing very well that, yes, they've competed in the Confed Cup, but that was a long time ago. That was way back in, 2017, 2018. And now a whole breed of new players have come in. I think with the exception of Kwesi Donsu and I think Tete Zuta, the whole team has pretty much changed. And so the experience is more or less out of the window, and so you are coming in with a new breed of players, a lot of young players in there. You look at the likes of Abdullah Zakari and all. So yeah, experience I don't think will be their ace in this one. I think it will have to come down to they being efficient, taking advantage of the chances that will come their way, and just staying disciplined. Because in these competitions, yes, the officiating might not be the best going away from home, and players tend to lose their cool easily. They attract a yellow card or two here and there. They have to back off tackles. A red card comes into play. They are playing the numbers disadvantage, and the next thing you know, they concede 1 or 2 goals and they get kicked out of the competition.
Well, I just hope that Evans Adote and Co can do a good job. Coach, Mediama win narrowly. Dreams FC get a draw away from home.
Yeah, on the part of Mediama, I've not watched the game.
Yeah.
But after the game, I listened to the head coach. Although he's won or they had the result, to him, if we were playing our football in this country, he would have gotten a bit more. Because in that last 20 minutes, you could clearly see that the Mediaman team was completely gassed out. And it is that part of the game, that stage of the game, that is where you tend to see the better team on the day more or less imposing themselves a bit more on the opponent and then going out to get the result that they want. If you look at the Nigerian, I also listened to their coach. What he was saying is that no fears at all. They believe that for the fact that they did not lose this game more than a goal, they are more than capable of overturning whatever advantage that Mediaman have, and they will eventually eliminate Mediaman. I'm worried, but simply because we are not playing football in this country as of now. There's been no competition whatsoever to get our teams to the level required for them to be able to compete at this stage. That is problematic. And for me, that is the reason why most of the Ghanaian teams, or the two Ghanaian teams that are playing the competition, may not end up going that far. Because after this stage, our league wouldn't have started when they go into the next round of the competition. And that to me is unacceptable. You cannot behave like that. We had this discussion on Sports Forum where I was so much annoyed at the fact that there was no competition whatsoever. You remember I pointed out that if I was in charge of Ghana football, if I was the FA president, I would have done everything humanly, practically possible to get Ghana to organize the top 4, at least a top 6, to include the FA Cup winners, so that our teams would have engaged in some form of preparatory matches to get them to compete at this level. There was nothing of the sort.
Well, let's just move the conversation on. Let's get to some foreign highlights. Let's start off with that Liverpool versus AFC Bournemouth game. Liverpool coming from behind to win that one by 3-1. Let's get the highlights of that game. So we apologize that we had some technical sound issues there, so you probably missed a little bit of what Coach was sharing there. We've rectified that. Let's get into it. Let's talk about that Liverpool game. Coach, Liverpool coming from behind. Yesterday, I think they had probably the biggest 30 minutes to forget in Premier League in the last 2 seasons.
Of course.
Shambolic.
Very, very shambolic. At the start of that game, you just wouldn't understand what Alisson, Konate, Van Dijk, and at times Trent Alexander-Arnold, you just wouldn't understand what they were about. They wanted to build from the back. Bournemouth would just not allow them to. They were insisting on doing that. Yes, I agree that is the identity the coach wants you guys to put out there. In the game of football at that level, if you're afraid of losing the ball, you have no business being in there. But that also does not mean that you should just do anything at all. If the pressure is so intense and it is incessant, that will just not allow you to build from the back. You do a plan B. Without a doubt, Liverpool didn't start the game early at all. And tactically, again, you could see that the way Jurgen Klopp is asking Alexander-Arnold to move into the middle of the park, I think he is doing his own very, very early. Unlike that of Pep Guardiola, unlike that of the other managers who nowadays tend to ask their fullback to go into the middle. They don't do it that early. They wait when the thing is in proper control of possession. Then they ask the fullback, come on, go and join them to outnumber the opponent so that you guys can dominate. But the moment the ball gets to Alisson, in the case of Liverpool, it gets to Alisson, Konate is stretching out wide to go and play as a fullback, and then Alexander-Arnold is moving in to play that role as a midfielder. No, let him start from his position as a right back. When the transition or when the build-up is now successful and there's complete harmony, there's peace, there's complete organization with regards to the build-up, then you can ask him to come into the middle. If they don't do that well, I think they'll get punished. I was so happy with the Ghanaian interest in Semenyo. I think we spoke about the fact that where Ato is his best position. I think in the 2 games he's played as a right winger, he's been absolutely brilliant. Yesterday, we all saw that everything good, everything better, everything interesting, enterprising for Bournemouth came from the Ghanaian. Look at the goal he scored. That was a switch strike. Another player would have been striking that against Van Dijk and then would have given Alisson the chance to save the ball. But the manner in which Semenyo showed in great belief and
composure.
confidence and composure. He just picked his spot. You know that, look, if I can get my laces through this ball,
ball's in the
it's
back of the
banging
net.
to the back of the net. And you could see the beauty of the strike. What Liverpool really need to do, we spoke about Endo, the Japanese international that they've acquired. I think he will come in there and bring a bit more stability. You could see, even when McAllister was shown the red card and Klopp introduced him, you want to argue, come on, this is Bournemouth. This is Bournemouth, so we shouldn't speak so much about it. But look, his positioning, his awareness is what Fabinho used to give Liverpool. And this is what this young man from Japan has restored back to order. And I think the fact that he could take the steam out of the game, take the steam out of the tension, especially very calm.
He took a certain ball where he turned away from his marker.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely turned away from his marker, and then he just used his left foot. And after doing that, he went back and, come on, give it to me. I've been brought in there to take the temple of the game. And I think, like I said, I don't think it is an ad hoc solution to a problem. I think it is a permanent solution to whatever problem Liverpool has. That Endo boy will show his class, his energy, his desire, his quality, his technical ability will come a long way to help Liverpool. Liverpool needed to win yesterday in order for them to match up to the pace setters of the game. Right now, it is looking like Brighton and Man City are the two teams to have played 2 and have won 2, 6 out of 6. So it's still early days, yes. But if you are Liverpool, you don't want Man City to give you that gap.
Yeah, I mean, snap thoughts on that Liverpool performance. What are Klopp's positives? What does he have to fix? They have the next game is against Arsenal, I believe.
No, it's against Newcastle.
So they have Newcastle, and then they have Arsenal somewhere in the corner as well. Just snap thoughts on that.
What does he have to fix? I think there are lots of positives.
And then there's a McAllister red card.
Yes.
I think Liverpool should probably appeal that red card.
I hear
the
they intend to appeal. That was no red card.
I think the positives, coach has highlighted on those positives. There were a lot of things that you could touch on that went right for Liverpool, despite the fact that they suffered a red card. What does Klopp need to work on? He needs to make Endo a bit more prominent going forward, because he helps out in the tactical shape of the team. Because if you have Szoboszlai and McAllister in there, and you have Szoboszlai joining the attack, knowing very well that there's also Gakpo in there playing alongside these two guys in midfield, you have as many as 5 attackers with Trent Alexander-Arnold moving from right full back to join McAllister in that double pivot. Then you have 3 men at the back. Shape-wise, it's not the best. So you have 5 attack. You are playing 5-2-3 or 3-2-5. The balance is off, and it makes you prone to counter-attacks. It makes you prone to vertical possession attacks. So for me, he needs to make Wataru Endo a more prominent role player or role dictator in that midfield, and give him that staple 4-3-3 formation. Now, what he needs to do is to pick between Darwin Núñez, Cody Gakpo, and Diogo Jota to pair with Luis Diaz and Mohamed Salah. Because looking at the form of Luis Diaz, clearly he has that other side locked down. Mohamed Salah is virtually untouchable in this team. So who plays in that middle? Who can play that Bobby Firmino
Because
role?
I'm sure Núñez will not be happy coming from the bench.
He stormed off straight into the tunnel right after the game. He played just 5-6 minutes, and right after the game, no pleasantries. He just stormed down the tunnel. So he was clearly pissed. And you have to pick between him, Diogo Jota, and Cody Gakpo to play in that central role. And that will be a major headache for Jurgen Klopp to fix, knowing very well that you have to pick between the guy who can play that Bobby Firmino role and allow Mohamed Salah to come in and central and finish off those chances.
Well, big questions for Jurgen Klopp to answer as far as his squad is concerned. Let's get to that game between Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United. Ange Postecoglou, after drawing his first game in charge of Tottenham, was hoping to get a win. Man United themselves got a very slender win in their opening game. They were hoping to build on that. Tottenham had other ideas. Andrew Martinez, after having a pretty decent game, ended up with an own goal beside his name. Coach, I've seen a lot of panic from United fans. They say that this is almost desperation time in terms of, one, the problems that need fixing with the team, the rate at which these problems are being fixed, and basically getting players to understand the coach's way of doing his things this season.
Look, United problem is both from the board, I mean the owners of the club,
Yeah.
down to Mehta and Arnold, the chief executives, and then Ten Hag himself. Look, I support Ten Hag. No tools about that. But this week, he's spoken like a Glazer puppet. Somebody who is now in bed with the Glazers.
He's beginning to speak their language.
Like the Solskjaer-like Glazer puppet.
How so?
You go to a press conference and you are asked, and you say you are satisfied.
Yeah. He
With
said
this
his
team.
midfield was fine.
It's absolutely not true. What is McTominay still doing in this team? Maguire, Henderson, Williams, Van der Beek, Eribayi. These are all players
Yeah.
who should be contributing to this team. But because they are not up to the standard, this coach have told them, I don't want these guys around.
So United have to sell these guys to bring in new
And bring
players.
in quality players. Now, before I look at the game itself,
Yeah.
you've had a deal with Amrabat wrapped up for more than, since June, since the beginning of June. Amrabat should have been the first player Man United should have bought. Because the problem from last season was simple. If you don't get somebody to help Carlos Casemiro, United were simply going to suffer.
Yep.
Because Eriksen did show throughout the season that, again, he's a number 10 and not a number 8. In the modern game, every number 8 now of late is a ball winner, as well as technically an offensive player.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody playing alongside a number 6, that person's role is not only to go forward, but it's also supposed to contribute defensively to. And Ten Hag clearly mentioned that last season. Hence, the move to go and get Amrabat. As we speak, as to why Amrabat is still not in this team, only the Glazers can tell. My Manchester United is being told that you need to sell players before you can buy.
Yep.
Come on. They've always been cash. This team has never lacked money.
Yeah. New owners, old owners, they've always
There's
been
money.
Yep.
That aside, now let's go to the game itself. If you look at that first half performance, if United had a proper number 9 in there, United would have taken the lead. A natural goal scorer. Rashford will score goals.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But Rashford will not score goals when he's playing as a number 9 that often. If you put him out wide, left, he will score goals. Now, the young man, Garnacho,
Yeah.
is still a young man. You know my stand on him. He's a super player.
Yep.
But he's too young to be given the burden to come to the rescue of Manchester United. Tactically, there is Onana. No doubt he's by far one of the best in the business. If you look at Onana's performance yesterday, there was nothing he could do for any of those two goals.
Yeah.
But look at his handling. Look at his box control. Look at his passing ability. Yesterday, there were 2
some
passes,
really-
and we're all like,
Yeah.
ooh la la, where does this come from? And I told him, come on, this is why he's been brought in there. Even the commentators could admit to
Yeah.
that fact that, wow, this guy is truly very talented. Casemiro as a number 6 is doing 2 man's job. He's playing as a DM and he's playing as a number 8 who should be battling the ball. Most people are talking about Mason Mount not having good games. I agree.
Yeah.
His first 2 games have not been the best. I don't blame him for that. I think it is because this team is not properly balanced. That is where I blame Ten Hag. Because you should be telling the owners, you should stop speaking like a Glazer puppet and be telling the Glazers, the guy who ties the hair behind his head, who I'm told is the one who makes the
Avram
decision.
Glazer.
When he speaks is final
Yeah.
among the Glazers.
Yeah,
you should be telling him that with this team. Look, last year, Liverpool was very poor. Chelsea very poor. Will they be poor again this season? I don't think so. So in addition to they not being poor, they not being very poor, Newcastle, Arsenal, Spurs, Man City, Brighton, United. Look, if you
even Tottenham are looking to have a comeback season.
If you don't do your things well, you suffer. United will come good. I have no problem with that. Because just as they did last, you remember last season, after the first 2 games, then Casemiro came, then Anthony came, then there were panic buys. We are hearing that Amrabat most likely by Tuesday will be done. Then I heard something about variety. You don't need variety. Go to Everton, go and get Onana. One thing that you don't have is that physical presence. That is what
Verratti is cast in the mode of Eriksen.
Even Mason Mount he's old, he's injury prone and all that. You don't need Verratti. Let him go to Saudi Arabia. They're after him. Let him go there. Go get Onana. Can you imagine a midfield of Onana, Amrabat, and Casemiro? Nobody misbehaves. Everybody will be made to understand that you just don't misbehave when you're playing against United. Because people will be made to feel the sensation in their spines, in their bones. Come on, you go for them. Because now the way the referees are officiating, it is not anything at all that is going to be whistled for. So you hit very good. If you're playing a game of football and you cannot get your opponent to see that or to feel that you are present, then it is better you are not there at all. But having said that, credit must be given to Spurs. They were very, very super. Look, especially in that second half. The boy from Mali, Bissouma, absolutely brilliant.
Looks a totally different player under this coach.
Look, I was always shocked when Antonio Conte never gave
him a kick.
Because he's far better than Højbjerg. He passes the ball well. He drives the ball forward.
There's more to his game.
There's more to his game than just receive and pass. Yesterday, look at him. When he, as if he's going to pass, then that is what Amrabat does, isn't it? So United needed somebody to, because from the way he plays, if he draws the opponent onto him, then he picks up Maddison. Maddison too does his thing. Look, I think if they had Harry Kane in their fold, they would have punished United more than 4 goals yesterday in that second half alone. Richarlison will have to set up. If he doesn't set up, I think no wonder I'm hearing that they are talking to Chelsea about Romelu Lukaku. I think if they can get Lukaku too, because look, it is like Richarlison is the only natural number 9 they've got now. They need to bring in somebody to put him under pressure. If he doesn't perform, you relegate him to the bench. This league is going to be so keenly contested.
I feel like this season might even be more competitive than last season.
If you don't do your things well, you will suffer. United, without a doubt, will have to respond in the transfer market this week, because in 2 weeks' time, they are playing Arsenal. You don't want to take this form to the Emirates, and even against Brighton at Old Trafford, you get beat and get beat very, very good.
Well, Richarlison was complaining to Emerson Royal when he was subbed about not having the ball passed to his feet and whatnot. We'll talk about more of that and also that Manchester City-Newcastle game. Let's take a break here on Scorecard. We'll be back with more highlights. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Let's get into more highlights and let's get to that game between Manchester City and Newcastle. So Man City started off the season with a convincing 3-0 battering of Burnley. They followed it up with another very hard-fought win over Newcastle, who themselves are probably trying to up their level from last season. They were really convincing in the end. City took the hard 3 points. 1-0 is how that game ended. Let's check out the highlights. So 1-0 is how it ended, Yao. I think that despite the defeat, this game told me more about Newcastle than it did about Manchester City. I think Newcastle are going to be a very, very tough nut to crack for a lot of teams.
Oh, yes, they will. But actually, I'm disappointed they walked out of the Etihad without at least a point. I'm disappointed because you look at Manchester City, it shows that they are very resolute. It shows that they are very resolute because if you play 3 games in 8 days, and one of those games includes a game against Newcastle.
So Burnley, Sevilla, and Newcastle.
Against a Newcastle team that's very physical, that's very intense, and have very athletic, willing runners in that midfield. Then it shows that your resolve is very, very, very strong. But for me, Newcastle disappointed in the sense that they started a little bit too slow for me. Man City was there for the taking. They should have jumped at them. They should have been intense right in their faces, right from the get-go, and try to force them to make mistakes and try to punish them. But unfortunately, they didn't do that. They were quite passive with their passing in terms of penetrating passing. All their passes were square passes, sideway passes, back passes. Man City consistently kept them in front of them. They didn't allow them to get behind them, especially in the first half. In the second half, when the tired legs of Man City started to show, they got a few decent chances. At a certain point, they got a 3-on-1 opportunity, and Callum Wilson didn't raise his head. He didn't show enough awareness to notice two of his teammates were right behind him. If he had taken a second or two, he would have been able to take advantage of that numerical situation. But unfortunately, that allowed Vardiol to step in and just delay that pass that would have gone to Almiron. And by the time the pass eventually got to Harvey Barnes and he attempted a shot, Man City had enough bodies, and Harvey Barnes' shot was just a straightforward, easy save for Ederson. So for me, yeah, Man City, they proved that they can dig deep and grind out a result and be a little bit more pragmatic, be conservative, save energy, and just hit out on the counter-attacks. But for me, the biggest story, or the bigger story between these two teams for me was Newcastle not taking advantage of a tired Manchester City and not earning at least a draw in this one.
Coach?
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you have said. And the very little I want to add to the fact that I was very much disappointed in Newcastle going forward. I think they didn't show any belief in the attacking sense. We all know that defensively,
they are solid.
They are solid, one of the best. And I've also said that the goal that Nick Pope conceded, I think he could have done far better. It was a routine save. If you look at his height, if you look at the trajectory, the level of the shot, the height of the ball, I think that was a save he could have easily made. All he needed to do,
his wingspan.
And his wingspan, all he needed to do was to sort out his foot or his feet a bit more, and then he would have made the save. He didn't do that. But after that, as a team, it's like they were more or less concerned with, even if we are going to lose, we have to lose respectfully.
Yeah.
Yes, it is still early on in the season. It's not gotten to the stage where you need to gamble.
Yeah.
But for a team that is thinking big, that is hoping
this is
to
a game they should have won.
In an amount of, I think they should have used this to make some very emphatic statement, especially in the attacking third. Because we all did say, Pep Guardiola even thanked the English FA for getting them to play 3 games in 8 days.
It was a very sarcastic comment.
Of course, he felt that they should have been allowed to play the game today. Something that I didn't
Or even
agree
on
with.
Monday.
Or even on Monday.
I mean, it happens to other teams all the time.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, he had no excuse.
Yeah.
And the man having complete, even substitution was even a problem for him. He kept the same guys in there for more than 80 minutes. But if Newcastle, you see, if you want to be a big team, you should not only carry the tag of being a big team. Practically, on the ground.
Act like it.
You should act like it. And yesterday was a bit disappointing on the Newcastle part because, look, they didn't show any intent going forward.
Talk to me about Phil Foden. So, De Bruyne out for 4 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Foden is expected to play in that De Bruyne right-hand side, come into the channels, try and get into the box. Did you like what you saw yesterday?
Yeah, I loved what I saw of him. But I think they will need to show him most of the De Bruyne clips a bit more. Because, you see, anytime he picks up the ball and he turns, he would like to touch the ball 3, 4, 5 times before he releases it. De Bruyne doesn't do that. In the modern game, when you do that, you are telling the opponent that they have enough time to recover.
To set up,
And if he's the one who is going to play in that position, he's going to be asking Erling Haaland to do another adjustment. Because Haaland got used to De Bruyne. He knows that once he picks it up, he's on a move.
One-time pass.
The pass will come.
Yeah.
But with Phil Foden, if he picks it up, you need to wait and watch him play.
You now have to recalibrate your runs.
That is it. And for me, that is going to take a bit more away from this team than but in terms of the young man walking into the shoes of Erling Haaland, of
De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne, playing as a number 10, wanting the ball. He reminds me of the olden days, number 10, who thinks that, look, I'm the boss here. Once it has to go through me. I should be the one giving the final pass, the final assist. I think yesterday, if De Bruyne was in that game, some of the delay that Foden made, he wouldn't have done that. And I think Haaland would have scored.
And it's even worse for Erling Haaland, just a quick one, because aside Foden, there's also Bernardo Silva in there, who is just like Foden.
Who also delays.
Actually, I think the best kind of midfielder for Erling Haaland at this point in time where Kevin De Bruyne isn't around is on the other side of Manchester. That's Bruno Fernandes. Because when he gets the ball quickly, one time, and on the flip side, Marcus Rashford needs a guy like Phil Foden or Bernardo Silva, a guy who can delay the ball a little bit and have him have enough time to set up his run and be the offside trap.
Interesting thoughts there. Let me read a few messages before we go on to that Chelsea-West Ham game. So this one here says, Liverpool win, Man United lose, Everton get battered, Reggae Boys showing their levels. What a weekend. Please do send your name when you send your messages. We'll display the WhatsApp line on your screen there. There you have it there, so you can send in your thoughts. This one's from Maxwell from Kwabenya, says, the pride of Lions are awake at Villa Park. So looks like somebody's an Aston Villa fan here. This one here is from Suhum, says, Ten Hag will be the first manager to be sacked from his job. There is no improvement in our play since Ole left. Hey, United fans. Edward from Elmina says City will be champions again. Brighton and Newcastle for top 4. Wow, that would be something. Richie from Kaswa says, tell coach no one can duplicate what De Bruyne does. Foden has his own qualities, and we saw it against Newcastle. He will cook. I'm sure he was explaining that just a while ago. Let's get to that West Ham versus Chelsea game. So Chelsea, after drawing with Liverpool, were hoping that they could go to West Ham's home ground and do one over them. West Ham themselves looking to have a better season after really floundering in the Premier League last campaign. Let's check out the highlights of how this one broke down. I'm sure after that Kane, Chukwu, and Emeka goal, Chelsea thought that they could build on that one and go on to win the game. It didn't happen. Coach, a team that was looking promising last weekend from that performance against Liverpool look like they've taken 2 steps back just looking at this performance.
You remember what I told you last week? I said they will play every game like this. But they will not win most of the games if they're going to rely on
Nicholas Jackson.
The setup of this Chelsea team is there to make them very difficult to lose games. But going forward, you cannot rely on Raheem Sterling. You cannot rely on Nicholas Jackson. You cannot rely on
Mudryk,
Chilwell. No, you can't. You need a natural goal scorer in there. That is why I thought that they would have sat down with Romelu to trash out whatever the problem. Because as it stands, they are still paying Lukaku. They are paying him good cash, good money for no work done. Something I completely disagree with. Now let's go to the game. If you're a Chelsea fan there, you are watching and you are listening to me, you should be worried. You should be worried because if you look at where Nicholas Jackson is picking the ball, how deep he has to drop.
Every time he picks the ball, he has to run almost 20 yards,
20, 30 yards. No. You see, if you're asking your striker to be doing that all the time, there's not going to be an end product to his game. And there was one situation where, if you saw that, he picked up the ball, he ran and ran and ran, and the entire Chelsea team were 10 yards away from him. So when he even gave the pull-out, there was no Chelsea player there to tap in the ball. And West Ham just took it off and then played. Now, if that is the way you're going to play, then I'm afraid Enzo Fernandez, his partner, Gallagher, Caicedo, these 3 guys, 2 of them will have to understand that when Jackson picks up the ball that deep and he takes off, they should go and give them Frank Lampard's clip. Get them to watch. Get them to arrive at the blind side of the defenders so that they will be slapping or tapping the balls into the back of the net. Again, what Chelsea really needs to do, again, is to sort out the defending between Thiago Silva and the 2 other centre-backs. We said last week that Mauricio Pochettino hardly go 3 at the back. I thought that because he was playing with Liverpool and he understands the wide men, the threat of Liverpool, that is why he went with the wing back. I never thought he would do the same thing against a West Ham team. West Ham, how many of their players strive on the wings or have got blistering pace? They are very narrow. West Ham is one of the teams that play very narrow. So the tactics of going 3 at the back with the wing back, I think that wasn't the best in my view. I think if he had gone, let's say, a typical 4-4-2, withdrawing Enzo Fernandez a bit more deep and asking the guy who's Chukwuemeka to play very close to William, I think that would have given him a better end product. It is something he needs to sort out because even as a coach, I did say also last week that in preseason, he never went 3 at the back. So as a team, they are still adjust, especially when you've got new guys at the back there. You don't do something that you yourself have not rehearsed with them. It makes the defending very suspicious or very suspect. And look at the goal they conceded. That was a very bad goal. I'm talking about the second goal, the Antonio goal. You know Antonio. He thrives on physicality. So all you need is to get one person to delay him, and then another person comes from his blind side and pick up the. What is another person? Somebody from the back. Go and look at the position of Gallagher, who naturally was the DM. He was in front of the ball instead of being behind the ball. So the moment what Prowse just gave Antonio the ball, and was it King?
It was Cole. Yeah, his challenge was very weak.
Was that?
His challenge was very weak.
He brushed him off.
He just brushed him off like that. And again, Disasi, instead of closing him down, his focus was on blocking the shot. You don't defend like that. You only tend to block the shot when the gap between you and the offensive player is that wide and you cannot, you don't have the chance of closing him down. Then you watch when he strikes, then you throw your whole body to. I think Disasi could have closed him down, delayed him after the very weak tackle from Cowell. And so they were their own undoing. But look, Mauricio Pochettino will have to look at his system again. I don't know whether the injury to
Chukwuemeka.
No, to the boy they bought from Leipzig, Nkuku. I don't know whether that is the reason why he's completely altered the formation. Because throughout preseason,
this was not what they looked like.
This was not what they were doing at all. All the games they played, they never played any of them like this. And they had Nkuku very close to William, and he scored most of their preseason goals. Is Raheem Sterling that player to do so? I don't think so.
Talk to me about Caicedo. They brought him on, and I don't know. It was supposed to be that move that was supposed to liberate the rest of the midfield. It didn't have the impact that was desired from him on the day.
Yeah, because at that point in time, West Ham was down by a man, and so they had pretty much calmed down in their own half, and that made it breaking down the lines of the defense of West Ham quite tedious, and it made Chelsea quite susceptible to the counter-attack. And so he always had to be a little bit mindful of that counter-attack, knowing very well that West Ham also posed a threat, and they had already brought on Edson Alvarez to add a little bit more steel to that midfield, because they were wearing out a little bit, they were tiring out a little bit. They took off Ward-Prowse and they brought on Edson Alvarez. They made some very good changes in there just to maintain the shape. And so for me, aside the penalty, I think he was just okay. He was just okay. And it was just down to the fine margins. Chelsea did very well. It was just down to the fine margins. Enzo Fernandez's missed penalty. Then Caicedo's mistake, conceding a penalty. You look at Raheem Sterling, the chance that he created, squaring that ball across the face of goal, Nicholas Jackson, air shot attempt, and Modric's mistake, his missed shot attempt. So for me, it was just down to the fine margins. Chelsea missed out on the fine margins. It happens, and it's very characteristic of a team that has a lot of young players in there that is playing without a recognized striker.
And again, just to add this, I think if you are losing the game, you don't need Enzo, Gallagher, and Caicedo.
You need to throw more attacking material.
Yes, I think in that Caicedo substitution.
I think he brought on Madueke too.
Yeah, he brought on Makwede, but he kept Gallagher and Enzo and Caicedo
in the middle of the
pitch.
park. Yeah.
I think this Chelsea team, in addition to a striker, they need something creative through the middle. That is why, look, it is baffling me why they've not looked at Mohamed Kudus at Ajax. Because a Kudus in such very tight situation.
He's a ball driver.
He's a ball driver. Come straight and then create through the middle. Because again, the substitution of Chilwell, I completely disagree. Because there were moments in that game where they needed a natural left-footed player who wouldn't bring the ball on his right foot, but just put the ball in between the West Ham defenders and their goal. Because what defenders do hate is defending the ball when they are facing their own goalpost. They don't like that. So maybe, look, it's a new team. He's still understanding, getting to know the players. They are still buying players. I would have thought that the purchases they have done,
they spent close to $1 billion.
They could have settled down. I think we've gotten what we want. But listening to Pochettino, he did say
They look like they're going to spend more money before they win.
I think they are looking at two more players. They are looking at a striker and they are looking at something creative through the middle. Listening to him after the game, that's what I gathered. They are looking at
Chukwuemeka's injury. It looks quite significant that he might end up missing out on a couple of months.
Yeah.
And so once you take him out
of...
Exactly. So once you take him out of the equation, you want to also bring in a guy who can also be
I've
a
never
box
seen
to
a
box
team spend
midfielder.
close to $1 billion and look this ordinary.
very.
They are young.
They are very young.
They are very young.
That is why, you see, it is good to spend on young players. But the only experienced player in this Chelsea team
It's Raheem Sterling.
is, let's say, Raheem Sterling
Thiago Silva.
Thiago Silva.
And
But
Raheem
I
Sterling
think,
looks off. He doesn't even look like he wants to play
but
football.
I think today he had...
Today was his best game.
Let me read a few messages coming in. This one here is from Kofi Supremo. He says, we all thought Caicedo will unlock Enzo, but he rather locked the whole team. This one here is from Abdul Ghaffari from Tamale. He says, United will come back stronger. Eric Ajemfra says that I believe Pochettino will be sacked soon. Even with Messi and Mbappe, he couldn't do anything. How much more a Chelsea team that sold almost half of the squad? This one here is, I'm a Red Devil. I feel Eric Ten Hag is testing waters and we will return to winning ways soon. Rasmus, Martial, Greenwood are fully, when Rasmus, Martial, Greenwood are fully fit. I feel Chelsea is missing in Nkunku, and with time, Poch will do wonders with the team if given time. So a lot of people expressing their thoughts. Keep your messages coming. Let's take another break here. When we come back, we'll show you the final of the Women's World Cup. It was Spain defeating England, and then we'll venture into the other leagues, La Liga, Bundesliga, and many more. Welcome back. This is Scorecard here on Citi TV. Let's now get to some women's football, and let's check out the finals of the Women's World Cup. It was Spain winning their first ever Women's World Cup against England, who were also seeking to do it for the very first time in their history. England have had quite a run up to the final, pretty impressive. I remember that semi-final against Australia, really good game there, overpowering the Australians, who are co-hosts of this tournament. Spain, though, again, have had their own really brilliant run. They capped it off with the ultimate by beating the Lionesses. Let's check out the highlights. So, heartbreak for England, Weigmann and the crew. They were hoping to cap off this very impressive run with a trophy. Looks like heartbreak. They'll have to reset again.
Yes, they have to reset again. And it's heartbreak for England because the men's team goes to the Euros final, they lose. The women go to the World Cup final, they lose. You look at Sarina Weigmann, the coach. 2019, she guided Netherlands to the women's final at the World Cup. They lost. Then she's guided England to the World Cup final. Again, they've lost. And so for me, I look at Spain and I think this is the icing on top of the cake. The main substance is 2018 under 17 Women's World Cup. They won it.
Yep.
2022. They won under 20 Women's World Cup. They repeated as champions at the under 17 level, and now at the main stage, at the senior level,
they've swept everything at the women's level.
That's what I mean by it's the icing on top of the cake. This thing didn't just happen overnight. It's a gradual process. When you see them play, when you watch them play, this is Barcelona and Real Madrid combined, a fusion of those two with heavy possession football that can hit out on the counter-attack. So for me, I wasn't surprised. The half they came from, that's where I suspected the winner of this tournament will come from. Because that half contained Japan, that half also contained Sweden. And Sweden ended up finishing third. They won the bronze. And for me, that semi-final game between Spain and Sweden, the team that won it, for me, was bound to win the tournament. So I wasn't surprised that it was Spain that ended up winning this tournament after beating Sweden in that semi-final. And for me, it just capped off a wonderful tournament. It's been in the process. It's been in the making. And like I said, this is just the icing on top of the cake.
The queens of women's football in every facet.
When you plan well, when you have a drawn-up plan,
this is how it plays out.
You know how to execute your plan. This is how it plays out. Look, by far, we knew they would win it. Because in terms of technicality, they had the better players. If you watch this England team, they are more of energy, drive, desire, appetite. Let's go. In terms of composure, the Spanish team, look, when they got beat by Japan in the last group stage,
they just quickly regrouped.
I told myself that, look, either Spain or Japan will win
this tournament.
If you look at how Japan themselves got eliminated, they were very, very unlucky. That day, they did everything.
They were my favorites for this tournament.
They did everything, but the ball would just not enter the net for them to get a result. But I think, when it comes to England, at times they tend to talk too much before even winning the cup. Look, if you listen to the English press, the sort of thing as if it was a foregone conclusion. Showing no respect whatsoever to the Spanish. Look, we are England, we are there, it's coming home. What are you talking about? You see,
they do this all the time.
They do this all and they tend to get into the heads of their players. So when they are actually now on the page to get the team to come home, that's where they realize that it is actually not that easy. But then it becomes absolutely very, very late. So for me, look, the Spanish captain, what's the name again?
Olga Carmona.
The left back. I think, to me, she was the player of the tournament. Everything she did, defending, coming forward. She scored a winning goal against Sweden. And she done the same again today. On that over, if you go back to the goal, look at where she came from. If only we could play that sequence back. You realize that she was not involved in the play. She had to sprint close to 60 yards just to make sure that she's picked up. And it takes somebody with determination, a player with desire, players understanding what it takes to play for their country and win it. Coming to this tournament, there were issues.
They had issues.
They had serious issues. About 7 to 8 of their senior players said they will come to the tournament.
They didn't like their
because
coach's
they
style.
didn't like the coach's approach. So the coach eventually had to introduce more of the young girls for them to come and take up the mantle. And for me, I'm very happy for them. I'm proud of them. Look, this is how you do it. I hope our people here will go and
just a quick one, their striker, the young dark-skinned girl, Paraluelo, she came from the junior team. So she won the under-17, she won the under-20 World Cup, and she got drafted into this team. And she's ended up winning the World Cup.
Talk about transition
at the senior level. So,
well, we talk about transitioning players all the time. The Spanish have done it. Like we said, they've won it at literally every level as far as women's football is concerned. Talking about Spanish football, let's get to Real Madrid Football Club. They were in action against Almeria. It was a good day. Again, Jude Bellingham. He is having the time of his life in Spain. He was on the score sheet once again. Never noted for his goals, but it looks like new team. He's making this another attribute of his going forward. Let's check out the highlights. The Real Madrid Football Club winning by 3-1. Jude Bellingham is 3 goals in 2 matches now for the Englishman. Coach, it looks like Jude is opening up a new dimension of his game, or Real Madrid are opening up a new phase to his game.
This is a player that Liverpool will look back and say, why didn't we get him? Because Liverpool backed
out of it because they said they didn't have money.
They didn't have money. Only
to go and bid 110 million for Caicedo.
There you go.
And Real Madrid paid, I think, just a little over 115, 120 million for him.
Exactly. So they'll be looking at what the young man is doing. But look, I trust Carlo Ancelotti. He's one of those coaches who would not pursue a player if he's not got a proper plan
Yep.
on how to use the player. Go back to his Chelsea days. Anytime there was a signing, that player will come into the setup and will begin to flourish. And for me, from the way Real Madrid are playing, look, they've got lots of energy. There's Tchouaméni, there's Camavinga, there's Valverde, there's Rodrigo, there's Vinicius, and there's Bellingham. Look at the front guys.
All youngsters.
All young guys.
The transition has really started.
They've started. And the icing on the cake, in my view, will be the arrival of the French international somehow next summer. And that will be brilliant. If care is not taken, they will not only dominate Spanish football, but they will begin to dominate Europe like they did some few years ago under Ronaldo and Bill and Benzema.
They've almost gathered all the best youngsters.
Exactly.
In their team.
Ready to unleash them. I think this season, they are actually going to test the waters when it comes to the European Champions League and see how they will gel. Not to say if there's a chance to win it, they won't go ahead and win it. Of course, they'll win it. They are Real Madrid. But I'm in love with what Carlo Ancelotti is doing, the manner in which he's able to pick a team of Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde, Rodrigo, Vinicius, and then what? Bellingham. All at the same start.
And that's what Arteta is doing.
And that's actually impressive because Ancelotti is an old school manager. He's from the old generation.
But he was way ahead of his time because he started with the diamond in midfield.
Diamond involving
the diamond shape in midfield. So if you have Camavinga, he will line up on the left side diagonally. Then on the right side diagonally will be Federico Valverde, and at the base will be Tchouaméni, and at the tip of the diamond will be Bellingham. Then you have Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr.
Diagonally
leading the attack, but they love to attack from the wings. So that gives Bellingham the chance to run into those central areas and be close to goal, and that's how come we are seeing him score a lot of goals this time around.
Carlo Ancelotti looks like he's cooking something. I wish we could have showed you the Barcelona game because Barcelona fans
it was a struggle.
Frustrated with Xavi and his insistence of playing a glut of midfielders in his game when his team lacks creativity.
The fact is, they don't have the money to buy the sort of players Xavi wants. The people they understand, and even their most creative player is leaving them for PSG. He's left Dembele. So if you look at this Barcelona thing, it's all about pass and move. There's no
real magic.
Players is the young boys, Pedri and Gavi. Gavi didn't play today, so you can clearly see them struggling. A lot more is being expected of Frankie de Jong. He's now supposed to play as that defensive midfielder. If you're going for a player like Romero, he's very slow, very Busquets-like. Very slow, but very steady though. But in terms of driving the team, he's not.
You're not getting that.
They need a little bit of a vertical attack because, like for instance, in the Chelsea game, the one that got ruled off for offside, that Nicolas Jackson potential penalty, it was just 2 passes and the ball reached Nicolas Jackson. They need that bit of attack in their play. They don't have it, and their build-up consistently is
very slow.
It's very slow. It's very laborious, and the penetrative passes aren't happening. Once Gundogan got it right, and he supplied Pedri, and he got the goal. And the second goal came on very late. They cut out Cadiz's back line on the counter-attack, and Ferran Torres just slotted it.
You just get the feeling they will struggle against bigger teams with more quality that are better coached. Let's get to the Italian Serie A, and let's get to Frosinone versus Napoli. Victor Osimhen has started off this season just like he ended the campaign, and then from there we'll go to Monza versus Inter Milan. So back-to-back highlights in the Italian Serie A. Enjoy. So Napoli returned to winning ways. Coach, Victor Osimhen picking up from where he left off last season.
Let me ask you a question. I give you Osimhen and Haaland. Who will you take?
I'm taking Haaland.
I'm taking Erling Haaland.
I take Osimhen all day.
Why?
I think he's the better footballer.
Like more to his game?
There's more to his game than Haaland's game. Haaland is all about strength and then go and score. Osimhen can pick the ball and run. Have you seen Haaland picking the ball, running at defenders before? He cannot do that. Osimhen is batting in the air. Headers go, he's better.
If you wanted Osimhen for a bit, the Sheikhs need to make it happen for you.
It's as simple as that. We are still hoping and believing that sale will happen. But look, back to the game, and I think Napoli, they are back. They start as favorite. Once they've been able to keep Osimhen in their team.
Yep, they've kept Kvaratskhelia as well.
Exactly. So they are favorite to retain the Serie A. AC Milan are buying, in my view, too many players. Inter themselves overly reliant on Lautaro Martinez.
Yep, they're trying to get in a striker, still struggling.
Still struggling to get in one. They went to Balogun, it didn't work. I just think that Napoli will have a very good chance of retaining their league title.
Yeah, just snap thoughts on that.
Yeah, true, because you look at the other contenders, Juventus, there are a lot of upheavals at that camp. You look at AC Milan, yeah, they've bought a lot of players, but does it take them over the line? I don't think so. I look at Inter Milan. I'll give them a slight chance of winning the title. I think they are the biggest contenders. And it's not necessarily because of their players, their unit, but it's more because of their coach. Simone Inzaghi is a brilliant coach. Yeah. And I look at the coaching change at Napoli, bringing in Rudi Garcia. He tends to do well, but it's up and down.
That's something.
His form is really up and down.
Spalletti has been picked up by the Italian
national team. And his form is up and down as a coach. And so when they capitulate, that's where I see the experience of Simone Inzaghi coming through and just guiding Inter Milan to the finish line. And that's the little bit of edge I give to Inter Milan. Aside that, both teams are the standout contenders for the Italian Serie A title.
Let's get to the German Bundesliga to wrap it up. Bremen were up against Bayern Munich. Dortmund were up against FC Cologne. Back-to-back highlights from the Bundesliga. So Harry Kane opening his accounts in Germany. Coach, Kane is up and running.
He will score more goals, without a doubt, because he's gone.
Can he finish top scorer?
Of course, he's playing for the best team in the land, and there will be chances upon chances upon chances for him. And look, if he takes whatever he did or he used to do in the Premiership to the Bundesliga, he wins, because the defending in the Premiership is far better than that in the Bundesliga. And so he's gone to a relatively easier league in terms of defending, and with his prolific instinct, his technical ability, he's been coached by one of the best in the business. He's gone to the best team with the best players. I expect him to score more than 30 goals. I'll be very disappointed
if he doesn't hit more than 30.
Although fewer games as compared to the EPL, fewer games players, but I expect him to score more than 30.
So minimum 30 is the mark.
Yeah, because you look at Tottenham Hotspurs, last season they scored 70 goals in the league. He scored 30. And Bayern Munich as a team, they scored 92 goals. And they played 4 games fewer than the Premier League. And so you look at the number of chances that they create, and you ally it to the fact that the German league consistently, they play with a high line and they have slow defenders. Unlike the EPL, where defenders are quick and they can recover, like the Van Dijks. You look at the William Salibas and co. Yeah. They play with a high line. Arsenal plays with a high line. Liverpool plays with a high line. But they can recover. Man United now plays with a high line because Rafael Varane is still quick for a defender. And so they can recover. But you look at the German Bundesliga, for instance, Dortmund, they play with a high line. But you still have Matt Hummels in there.
And then Sule, who's relatively very
so
slow.
Once you have these guys, the Rossini and the likes of Matthias Tell, who are quite speedy, they'll definitely supply Harry Kane the balls, and he'll get multiple one-on-one opportunities against the keepers, and they'll score.
Dortmund also did their thing over there. Let me just read 2 messages to close out the show. This one says, Chelsea, Enzo, £105 million, missed penalty. Caicedo, £115 million, caused the penalty. The 2 most expensive players in British football history cost Chelsea today. Congrats to them, you say. This one here says, greetings to you guys for your great work. There are 2 blues in England, the Abidjan Blues and the City Blues. We, the citizens, are winning the league again. I'm not sure who you are calling Abidjan Blues, but I think I have an idea. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Coach Christopher Nimley. Thank you to all those of you who watched the show, and those of you who made time to actually send us messages as well. Same time next week, Scorecard will be back on your screen.